Answer.com on the AM560 mobile app on your Alexa-powered smart speaker on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com.
7:36, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and Jim Talamonte.
We are looking at a roadwork delay right now on the outbound Kennedy. Traffic is stop and go from Canfield to Cumberland. Inbound traffic's now a little bit slow from Washington into the Burns Circle. 21 minutes O'Hare to downtown, outbound 22. Eden's 15 minutes from Lake Cook to the Kennedy. Inbound Eisenhower, traffic's a little bit heavy through the avenues. And then around California, there was an outbound car fire in Sacramento. That cleared. So we're just looking at a little bit of residual congestion now in both directions. Inbound Stevenson delay started Cicero. 36 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 28. Inbound Ryan, 20 minutes, 95th to downtown, outbound 14, I-57. Slow going, 159th Sibley, crash in the left lane. It's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next in our 1 hour heating and air conditioning weather center. Not as warm today, periods of sunshine. We may see an afternoon shower and a high of 78. Currently 64 officially at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 8 with breaking news as it happens. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by On Target Radio. From firearms and Second Amendment rights to personal freedoms and government intrusions. Listen here Sunday nights at 9.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Very interesting interview that Muhammad Ali Jr., Cassius Clay's only biological son, gave to the New York Post over the weekend, calling the Black Lives Matter movement racist and saying
his dad wouldn't approve.
Yeah, don't bust up blank. Don't trash the place. You can peacefully protest. My father would have said, they ain't nothing but devils. My father said all lives matter. I don't think he'd agree with what they're doing. He said he thinks the Black Lives Matter movement is racist. It's a racial statement. It's pitting black people against everyone else. It starts racial things to happen. I hate that.
Well, now Brown Lives Matter group is upset at the Black Lives Matter group.
Not Ali Jr., who, by the way, grew up here. A buddy of mine knew him when he lived in Flossmoor. Say he was a really nice guy, and he lived in Inglewood for a time as well. I mean, he didn't, and I don't think he receives very much from his father's estate.
Didn't he graduate from HF?
I believe so.
Yeah. Listen to me, I'm so down with this struggle. Homewood, Flossmoor. I know the districts. I know the schools.
Yeah, you're a real Southland regular. Yeah.
Well, I was in the Southland yesterday.
Yeah.
Getting Amazon centers, 2 of them.
Where?
In Madison and in Markham.
Oh.
That's good. Thousands of jobs, 2,000 jobs. And then Robin Kelly, real quickly, ancillary issue, the congresswoman down there. She talked about, guess what? Reopening Peatone because of all the e-commerce.
Reopening it never opened.
I mean, not reopening, opening.
And it's never going to open, too.
Well, the governor said he's going to try and work on that.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. Good luck.
Well, whatever. It's good for the people in the Southland. Anyway, go on.
Don't get into aviation economics because this is not a conversation that's going to go well if you're going to take the pro-Peatone position.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I was just talking about the Amazon centers.
Ali Jr., not all police are bad. There's just a few. There's a handful of police that are crooked. They should be locked up. I never had a bad scene with a cop. They've always been nice and protect me. I don't have a problem with them. I think Trump's a good president, Ali Jr. said. My father would have supported him. Trump's not racist. He's for all the people. Democrats are the ones who are racist and not for everybody. These Democrat politicians saying Black Lives Matter. Who the hell are you to say that? You're not even black.
That's,
well, it's
that article speaks for itself.
A message across the bow of the ghoulish white champagne socialists. And, that's a knockout punch from Muhammad Ali Jr. I love it. For more on Black Lives Matter and some of those ghastly white champagne socialists in charge of influential cultural, civic organizations, We're pleased to be joined again by Paul Kengor. He is a professor of political science at Grove City College in Grove City, PA, senior academic fellow at the Center for Visions and Values, and author of the forthcoming The Devil and Karl Marx, Communism's Long March of Death, Deception, and Infiltration. Boy, that can't come soon enough. I mean, the book, not the long march of death. Paul Kengor, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're so right about that, Dan. So, yeah, good to join you and Amy again.
So you wrote a piece for The Spectator, speaking of some of, I think, the people that Muhammad Ali Jr. was speaking of, Planned Parenthood, and Planned Parenthood's statement of earnest support for Black Lives Mattering. Oh, as you write, the sick irony.
Yeah, I mean, they talk here about their black patients, as they put it, and about as the nation confronts COVID-19, which disproportionately ravages black communities. That's from their tweets. They put out a series of tweets, Planned Parenthood Federation of America. And I say in this piece that you want to talk about something disproportionately ravaging black communities, what about abortion? I mean, since Roe v. Wade in 1973, about 40% of abortions are among black women. And, I mean, this is absolutely stunning. COVID-19 has killed, I don't know, Dan, what's the latest number this morning? Probably about 120,000 Americans.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But the total number of unborn African-American babies killed by abortion is at least 20 million. At least 20 million. And if you want a sense of proportion, World Wars I and II combined, we lost about 500,000 Americans. If you take all wars combined in the history of America, that's about 1.3 million deaths. So to lose 20 million unborn African-American babies since 1973 by abortion, and with Planned Parenthood doing more of those abortions than any other organization, for them to run around saying that Black Lives Matter. And by the way, to make this even worse, Dan and Amy, I found out after I wrote this article, here's how naive I was about Black Lives Matter. I extend an olive branch here, and I said, hey, Black Lives Matter, you want to protest Planned Parenthood? All right, how about that? I'll be the first one at the head of the march. Well, a number of people emailed me and said, hey, dude, wake up. Go to their website. They're totally pro-choice.
Yes, right. Yeah, absolutely. They oppose the nuclear family. That's right.
Right.
Yeah,
To your forthcoming book, they're Marxists. They're not just racialists.
Well, that's right. Yeah, they are Marxists. And, in fact, it's Patrisse Cullors, and her last name is spelled, I think, Cullors. And the video just emerged from her. I'm not surprised by this. I mean, this is something that we knew all along. And she actually says, you can see this on YouTube, quote, we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia, now this would be Alicia Garza. She's one of the, she's one of the 3 co-founders of Black Lives Matter. She says, Alicia and I are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories. So they're trained Marxists, and that's no surprise. And I teach Marxism. I teach it at Grove City College. I don't advocate for it. I guess you could say I teach anti-Marxism. But there's this really kind of chilling line at the end of the Communist Manifesto from Marx and Engels. And listen to this, guys. They wrote, communists everywhere support every revolutionary movement against the existing social and political order of things. And that's exactly what Patrisse and Alicia and these Marxists and Black Lives Matter are doing. They're supporting any revolutionary movement that can help take down the existing social and political order of things. And so when people on our side say, defunding the police, why would they favor defunding the police? I mean, that's going to give you chaos and disorder. Well, yeah, exactly. They know what they're doing. That's the point of this. When you understand the underlying radicalism in theory, you can put it together. There's a sort of irrational rationality to all of it. But I cut you off, Amy. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Because in your article, you challenged those members of Black Lives Matter to march with you, and just explain that, please.
Yeah, and I even put my my email address in it. In fact, any of you listening right now, pgkengor@gcc.edu. Anybody listening who's a Black Lives Matter supporter, maybe a kind of a religious left social justice warrior who's out there listening right now, if you want me to help you organize a protest against what Planned Parenthood has done to the black community, that is one Black Lives Matter protest that I'll join. I'm not a protest guy. I'm not a guy to carry a sign. I've never been to any rally, but I'd actually help you find some conservative Christians who could support you on this. So I put that offer out in this article of the American Spectator. I put my email link in there, and I'll tell you, Amy, I have not received. This ran about a week and a half ago. I God is my witness. I have not gotten a single email, not one email from anybody on that side taking up my offer.
Well,
and I even say
yeah.
here, guys, think about this. You would instantly pick up support from thousands, if not millions, of pro-life Christians, right? How cool would it be if Black Lives Matter could reach across the aisle like this, right? I mean, few people could question their sincerity. They would say, well, I don't agree with all the Marxist claptrap of Black Lives Matter, but they at least support pro-life position, right? They say Black Lives Matter in the womb. No, they don't. That's not what they believe, and they won't do that, and they won't reach across the aisle on this because they are pro-choice or pro-abortion. So they have not taken me up my offer. I said, hey, prove them wrong. I said, people reading this article are probably saying, come on, Kengor, Black Lives Matter. They're a bunch of left-wingers. They're not going to take on Planned Parenthood. And I say here, prove me wrong. Well, they're not going to prove me wrong because they support Planned Parenthood.
Well, now you know who
So
else.
Black
Yeah.
on the womb,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, but I mean, this is not a surprise. I mean, now you know how Alveda King and so many pro-life women of color, black women and Latino women that you see at the the March for Life every January in D.C. to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Now you know how they feel. I mean, that's the thing, and the problem is we're unwilling to say what the real deal is here too, and so are they, obviously, which is the history of Planned Parenthood that persists to the present. The history informs the present. It's funny, they think that with respect to slavery and with respect to Jim Crow, but they don't think that with respect to the founding of Planned Parenthood. And Margaret Sanger was a eugenicist, and Planned Parenthood is driven by white suburban socialist women who are racists. They don't want more poor black children. They don't want more poor Latino children. All you have to do is put your ear to the ground at a cocktail party in the North Shore in Chicago or any other Tony rich leftist enclave, and you'll hear it.
Well, yeah, remember, Dan, the quote from Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? She said, when we did Roe v. Wade, we thought this was about eliminating populations that we don't want too many of.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's the quote. And, I mentioned in here Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood. She had a Negro Project. She talked about race improvement. And in May 1926, she spoke to the women's chapter of the KKK in Silver Lake, New Jersey. How do we know that? She writes about it in her memoirs, her 1938 memoirs, pages 366 to 367. I know the exact page numbers because I put it in a photocopy, and I have my students read it once a year in one of the history classes I teach. And she talks in there about how this is the exact quote. I saw through the door dim figures parading with banners and illuminated crosses. I waited another 20 minutes to speech. It was warmer, and I did not mind so much. Then she gets out there, she speaks, and she was such a hit. She says this in her memoirs. I believe I had accomplished my purpose. A dozen invitations to speak to similar groups were proffered. The conversation went on, and when we were finally through, it was too late to return to New York. She didn't get back to her hotel in Trenton until about 1 o'clock in the morning. That's her speaking to the KKK.
Well, when the statues of Margaret Sanger go up around the country, then I'll lead the group to tear those statues down since we have mob rule now.
Right. There's a bust to Margaret Sanger in the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
In this article of the American Spectator, if you look at the picture at the top, that's Margaret Sanger Square in New York. That's the original Planned Parenthood clinic. And look at that picture I got in front of me. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 white women outside of that clinic. It's on Bleecker Street. I walked past it last fall. I saw black women walking inside there to get abortions. There's no call to rename that square something other than Margaret Sanger Square. So they're running around not only taking down statues of Stonewall Jackson, but for some reason Ulysses S. Grant,
right,
the Union soldier who defeated,
right,
yeah. But Margaret Sanger's peachy with these people. It's insane.
Well, it speaks to something too, and you of course understand this as an academic, but the left has won the writing of history, and now they're stepping on the gas with respect to rewriting history. Now we're starting, in large measure, the idea is for 2020 America to be year zero America. I don't know. I guess we should.
Is that right? I hadn't heard that one.
Well, I mean, I think that's where they're going with the indiscriminate ripping down of monuments, the 1619 project.
Right.
That's a Pulitzer credentialed now. I mean, where else could they be going? The slavery is wired into our DNA. America's a racist country. They figured out, starting in the 60s, and now it's amplified and it's rampant, that the way to power is to make a claim based on identity and cower those who would stand in your way. And that's exactly what they've done, as they have allied all of the power structures that govern the important cultural and civic and corporate institutions in society. So,
well, now they're even calling on taking down Jesus statues.
Of course they are. So you have Marxists. So godless Marxists. So you have all the ingredients for starting America anew in 2020. I mean, I don't want to be dramatic, but don't you?
Yeah, well, how Jacobin-like that would be, wouldn't it? In fact, the Jacobins in revolutionary France, they renamed the year 1794 the year zero.
Yes.
And Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, which murdered 2 million people out of a population of 5 to 7 million in Cambodia in the late 70s. They remade, I think it was the year 1978, was renamed the year zero. Mussolini, who people know was a fascist, he was also a Marxist. He tried to do this in 1922 in Italy. And by the way, a key part of that is changing the Anno Domini calendar, right? To literally take Jesus out of the calendar. And in fact, the left has already been doing this. A lot of style guides. What are they using now, guys? I think BCE. Right? Instead of BC.
Right.
So instead of before Christ, before current era.
Yes.
And AD, they've already changed that. So you remove Christ from the calendar. Yeah, this is very much a totalitarian, human nature redefining project. And crosses of Jesus, that'll come down next. In fact, I have a piece this morning at National Catholic Register. They're taking down Saint Junipero Serra throughout California, who was he was the founding Christian missionary on the West Coast. You guys are in Chicago. I'm an East Coast guy. We don't really know about Junipero Serra. He was basically like the Mayflower to what the Mayflower and Pilgrims were to the East Coast. San Francisco is named for St. Francis. Santa Barbara is named for St. Barbara. Santa Clara is named for St. Clair. I bet most people in California don't even know those are saint names. So, and his great
just wait till they find out. Those will be right on the list, right behind St. Louis in the list of cities to be renamed.
Yeah, and they did that in revolutionary France as well, or they tried to. So they are. This is really an unholy project that, we warned people about this. Even Donald Trump said, well, I think it was after Charlottesville, he said, well, look, you start tearing down Confederate soldiers, how long before they come for George Washington? He earned slaves, and everybody said, oh, white supremacist dog whistle, Trump, right? They just tore down a statue of George Washington.
That's a great impersonation you do of one of those vandals, Paul. Paul Kengor, he's a professor of poli-sci at Grove City College in Grove City, PA, senior academic fellow at the Center for Vision and Values, and author of the forthcoming book, The Devil and Karl Marx, Communism's Long March of Death, Deception, and Infiltration. Paul, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
After 25 years of building websites for all kinds of companies in many different industries, AmericanEagle.com realized a well-designed website is also your best employee, bringing efficiency, revenue, production, showing up every day, giving above and beyond to increase your bottom line. That's what a website designed, developed, and hosted by AmericanEagle.com has brought to so many clients. An AmericanEagle.com website is a 24/7 branding exercise, building rapport and thus brand equity while you sleep. Companies like WeatherTech have relied on AmericanEagle.com's website design and development and hosting capabilities for years. When some of the world's top brands need a reliable company to prepare their sites for high-traffic events, who do they call? AmericanEagle.com. Their clients have come to rely on them for a full line of website services, from consulting and strategy to digital marketing, hosting, and maintenance. Give the team at AmericanEagle.com